It's hard to think of a year that was as stacked and packed as 2023 was. 2007 and 2013 are close contenders, but this last year in recent memory has been one of the wildest that we've ever had. Now, I do want to address the biggest issue in the room, and that is the number of layoffs that we have seen in this past year. It's hard to talk about all the success and greatness that we've had without discussing the bad parts, and in this year, it's the case of nearly 6,000 layoffs that have happened in the gaming sector this year. Smaller studios and new startups like Ascendant Studios losing a majority of their team, and then you have bigger ones like Microsoft, Epic, and more recently, Bungie. To all those affected by these shitty situations, I wish you nothing but the best and to land on your feet at a job doing what you love again, and hopefully that is making kick-ass video games for all of us to play. Now that I've went ahead and addressed that at the top, I do want to talk about this video and say that these are my opinions, and I would love to hear yours. What is your game that you want on your list, and how would you rank them? What was your favorite game? And just let me know down in the comments below. So, games that you won't be seeing on this list are going to be Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Wonder, and then Baldur's Gate 3. I do plan on getting to Baldur's Gate 3 at some point, but currently waiting for a sale on that one. I've heard nothing but great things, but it's just not my type of game, but might pick it up down the line. So if you do want to hear me talk about my top 10 list from this past year, sit back, relax as I nerd out a little bit. Make sure to drop a like on the video as well, as it really does help me out.
The cure.
The situation's changed. I need to know if you're with me.
Illusion of freedom draws in the desperate. Pick your truth, V.
Come on. Got iron in your hand. Gotta put it to someone's head. Pull the trigger.
If I don't do anything, and do it soon, I'll die.
So number 10 is Diablo 4. And I'll admit, I was caught up in the hype for Diablo 4 when it first launched and picked it up on a whim. My experiences with Diablo games was next to none outside of a few hours of Diablo 3 that I tried. So being able to say that I would put this in my top 10 year list is kind of surprising, but with the loot, the gear aspects, and the story, I actually really enjoyed those. The cutscenes were some of the best that I'd seen in a video game. And I do know that Season 1 was not all that well received, and admittedly, I didn't check out that too much, with a lot of classes apparently getting changed and nerfed. But Season 2 seems to have fixed a lot of those issues, and I'm dipping my toes in there a little bit, but there is a new DLC titled Vessel of Hatred set to release sometime in 2024, so I might hop back in then. Number 9, Hi-Fi Rush. Where the hell did this game come from? Hi-Fi Rush was a sleeper hit that came out of nowhere, and I literally mean it. When is the last time that you saw a game announced and released in the same day? Then you have it get the reception that it got. That was a whole nother thing to add on top of it. Developed by Tango Gameworks, a company that had primarily only done horror games to this point, they really were able to show the creative flexibility that they had here with this game. I mean, the entire game is synced up to the beat around you, and you get bonuses each time you land on beat. And it can be a little tricky at first, but once you get synced up and unlock some of the special abilities, combat really does open up. It's on Game Pass, so if you haven't checked this one out, I would highly recommend it. It's nominated for, I think, like 5 awards at the Game Awards, and it's a ton of fun. It's got a great soundtrack with it as well. Number 8, Hogwarts Legacy. You didn't think that I would omit one of the biggest and best-selling games of all of 2023 from my list, did you? While I might not be the biggest Harry Potter fan, Hogwarts Legacy does a great job at something that I'd always wondered while watching the movies, and that was, what would it be like to go to school here? Being able to fully explore the school of Hogwarts and some of the classes to attend for different subjects was also a nice little touch that the game added. Flying around on your broomstick was a big highlight, as well as some of the combat spells that you could learn on later in the game. It's your standard action RPG with that Wizarding World of Magic added to it, and if you're a Harry Potter fan, I'm sure you'll get some enjoyment out of this one. Number 7, Atomic Heart. Might be a little controversial here, but I dug this game. It was what I deemed Soviet Shock. I believed it was sort of just like a Bioshock Russian style game, and I still stand by that. It's a game that I had been following from its early concept stages. It's a game that I had been following from its early concept stages from 3 to 4 years ago. And while the game might have missed a mark in a few places like the main character and the dialogue, there were aspects of the main story that I did dig, and the music and combat is what really sold me on this game. Nothing like hacking and blasting your way through robots while Mick Gordon is playing in your ear. There have been DLC packs announced for the game down the line with post-launch content, as well as a sequel that they've already talked about. All in all, solid game. It's on Game Pass. Give it a shot. Number 6, Resident Evil 4 Remake. This was my first experience with Resident Evil 4, and I get it now. It is one of the best Resident Evil stories and gameplay with a refined and tight combat that is pretty much a standard for most Resident Evil games now, and a damn good looking game as well. The Separate Ways DLC also adds about 3 to 4 hours onto an already beefy 12 to 14 hour experience. Easily one of the best remakes that Capcom has done in recent years, and will for sure be remembered fondly in the coming years, and serves as the gold standard moving forward for the future remakes in the series, which they have announced are coming. Number 5, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This one was pretty rough at launch, and that's coming from someone who has a 4080, and the game was rough. Didn't matter what kind of PC you had, it was all over the place, and it was a damn shame because the core game is actually really solid. Survivor takes the combat and gameplay of Fallen Order and improves on it in many ways. With different lightsaber stances like the crossguard and dual wielding being introduced, the open world sections were also greatly expanded to offer more freedom and exploration in ways of optional puzzles and hidden bosses that you can find. The game is stable now, and a third game is already in the works, it seems. An easy pickup when it's on sale, or eventually when it does come to Game Pass. Number 4, Spider-Man 2. A sequel to one if not the best superhero games of all time was bound to end up on this list. Spider-Man 2 was released back in October to rave reviews, with nearly everyone noting all of the improvements over the first game. With the ability to now play as both Peter and Miles in a game that allows you to swap between them freely at any time. Some missions are tailored to each of the different Spider-Men, but each also come with their different variations of suits and powers with all different, I guess, just move sets that you can pull off. We're also introduced to the symbiote suit, which is one hell of a ride. Venom's also in there, and you won't want to stop until you finish that game. It's insane. It's a batshit crazy ride, and I loved it. If you've played either of the first 2 games, it's an easy purchase if you haven't already. Number 3, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. I don't care if this breaks conventional ruling, but I'm putting Cyberpunk 2077 on this list. Mostly for the Phantom Liberty storyline, but I will also sort of sneak the 2.0 update in there because that was really a big instrumental change to the game and the game's core systems, whether that be the car combat, the skill trees, the police system. And then Phantom Liberty goes ahead and adds a whole nother new area to that game with all of those past mistakes in mind when making it. You team up with Idris Elba, who plays Solomon Reed, an FIA agent, spy, some Mission Impossible type stuff. Keanu Reeves is back as the good old rocker boy Johnny Silverhand once again. It's really something special here what they did with Phantom Liberty and the 2.0 update. Fundamentally redoing essentially the entire game, and then to have it be in the state that it's in and get the reception it's in is just awesome. And they recently added an update that also adds a fully functioning metro system to the game as well, just like in the trailer back in 2018. I just hope that CDPR takes the lessons learned here from making the first game and all the mistakes that they've made and all of the stuff that they've done to fix the game, and can apply that to the fullest when making Cyberpunk Orion. Number 2, Starfield. My runner-up for Game of the Year is going to be one that might shock some people, but it was a game that I was insanely hyped for and absolutely loved every minute that I spent playing it. Being able to freely walk around a possibly desolate planet and finding new life forms or stumbling across a new mission chain was one of my favorite aspects of Starfield. The amount of weapons and clothes variety is also something that I came to appreciate, as it allowed me to vary my look from Future Space Marine or Outlaw Ranger. It feels like forever ago when the game was released, but we're only 3 months removed from that release date. And having put, like I said, 120 hours into the game, I was able to see and experience nearly every aspect that this game has to offer. Whether that be building my own spaceship to look like the Normandy SR2 from Mass Effect, or exploring, like I said, desolate planets in search of possible mysterious artifacts. The game is something that I've wanted, and that's just a space open world RPG, and I know that might not be for everything. Bethesda might have some more older systems that need to work out, and some people might not be very fond of those, but I loved it. I had an absolute fucking blast with it, and I plan on going back when they release the Shattered Space DLC, as well as the mods that they will be coming out with in 2024. Bethesda's really got a good foundation built here. It was really solid on the bug front, so I can't wait to see how this game looks in 3, 4, or 5 years down the line. Number 1, Alan Wake 2. If you'd have asked me what I thought my game of the year was going to be at the start of 2023, I'd have told you Starfield or Spider-Man, no doubt. But you've already seen those 2 on the list, so Alan Wake 2 really blew me out of the fucking water, man. Remedy went ahead and made one of the best survival horror games in the last couple of years, standing toe-to-toe with the likes of the recent Resident Evil games. The combat is tight, the puzzles offer up just enough challenge with some of the best visuals that I've seen this year. The blend between live action and in-game sequences is something that I thought they did an outstanding job, and it only really feels like something Remedy themselves could pull off. It's one of the few times in a game where I've finished it and then immediately started replaying and eventually platinuming it. I myself love to write, and the title of Alan Wake is a writer, so a lot of his sequences were some of my favorite to do, and as well as those internal monologues that you would hear as he lays out the scene for you or whether he's rewriting it. Saga's story was one that did a great job at being a new vessel for people who might not have played that first game, like myself. This allowed her to experience the story for the first time, but also using it as a smart way to get people caught up to speed on the story and the happenings of the first game. Saga's detective sequences sometimes can slow down the pace of the game, but once you start to see it all fall into place and all the pieces start to lay themselves together, you really do appreciate the work that you had to do. Alan Wake 2 is an easy buy for me, but not something I'd recommend to everyone, as the story can get a little trippy and confusing at times. But if you've enjoyed past Remedy games, it's an easy pickup, and it's no doubt something that I think you'll come to enjoy. While I'm posting this before the Game Awards, I'll be tuning in to see some of the awards get announced, as well as some of the new games that are going to be revealed. I'm going to predict that either Baldur's Gate 3 or Tears of the Kingdom is going to win Game of the Year, although I would really love to see Alan Wake 2 snag it. 2023 truly, like I said, might have been one of the best years that we've ever had for gaming. Arguments, like I said, could be made for 2007 or 2013. The cadence and pace that we got games this year was something I don't think I'd ever seen before, and it was one hell of a time. Looking back at my channel, I did some odd 20 reviews for different games and DLCs, and that is something I plan on keeping going in 2024. I do have one last review for this year, and that is going to be Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, which I have faith will be a fun Far Cry-esque game to tide me over for the next month or two. I do have to say, if you did make it this far into my ratings list, hearing me ramble and rank what I thought my top 10 games were, it is subjective. The ones I really went back and forth on were Phantom Liberty, Spider-Man, and Starfield. Alan Wake was just, it was that perfect storm of just weird shit, and I loved it. That's the best way I can say it. I have a whole review about Alan Wake where I talk about it for 19 minutes, so go ahead and check that out. Like I said, I got 20 other reviews on the channel if you want to go ahead and check those out as well. So if you did make it this far, I do just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.
This story will eat you alive. This story is a monster. And monsters wear many faces.